My name is Bradford, and I am from Oklahoma.
And what was your connection to Woodland? What brought you? How did you know about solar?
I was a pod parishioner and have been for 10 years, more than 10 years. And I've been following Woodland Hills, specifically listening to Greg Boyd for that long.
How did you come across the podcast in the first place?
How did I come across it in the first place? I haven't thought about that in a real long time. I believe that I was in college and a friend of mine, Chris Underwood, lent me a book of Greg's. And then that's when I just realized that there were, thinkers out there and you could learn from and that sort of thing. And it's been downhill ever since.
So a lot of some of the expectation would be that we would have single students coming in, but you actually came here with your wife. So
Sure enough.
Tell me a bit about what that transition has been like for the two of you.
It's actually been really, really great.
We don't have context. We won't hear Emily. So just set it up that you came here with your wife.
Oh, do you not?
On the video.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And you're doing great. Keep talking to Emily. We'll ignore the camera.
Okay.
You're doing awesome.
So so tell us the story of how you got here. What did you leave behind in Oklahoma to come here? And then tell us about you coming as a couple.
Well, we came through Dallas.
Leaving you and your wife.
Yes, Lizzie and I. So Lizzie and I came through Dallas to get here. That's where we were at the time. And we were really looking for something more. We had a small local church that we were a part of. Unfortunately, it's not doing particularly well. But in terms of leaving things behind, in a way, we left everything behind and brought 2 old cars with back seats full of, house junk. And in a way, we didn't leave anything at all because we didn't, we never really had a lot, you know what I mean? And certainly nothing like a church community like this. I didn't leave something like this behind to come to something like this. That's the whole, I imagine that's kind of the whole point, Lizzie's wonderful. She is the one that made this whole thing possible, as a matter of fact. So the reason that I'm the one here that is married is because I'm married. She actually got a job offer here when we were still in Dallas, and somebody gave her a Skype interview. And of course, she is so wonderful and charming that they loved her right away. And of course, our cat made an appearance in the Skype video with his little tail going across the screen. And the people at the school that hired her, of course, just could not resist how wonderful she is.
So what has that transition been like for you, moving here from Dallas to Minneapolis?
Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of Dallas to Minneapolis, the transition has been really great and interesting. I've never been up north before, and there's trees and different weather and all kinds of different people. And we had to stay in Airbnb for a long time. We got up here pretty early as far as a lot of the other Soma students go. And we were in an Airbnb for 10 weeks, and we had to go from this Airbnb to that Airbnb because I didn't make reservations ahead of time. I thought we were going to get an apartment or something. I don't know. Well, our housing was never real situated, but luckily God provided, and the Good in the Hood actually had an apartment for us to stay in. So aside from staying in a one room with the cats and living out of your car for a little while, it's certainly been worth it, since anyway. But Minneapolis is wonderful. The people are great. The city is remarkable. The trees are beautiful. There's parks everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you know all this, but Dallas is just such a sprawling concrete monster. Minneapolis is way more homey. That's for sure.
What about your transition also into the program itself?
Into the program itself.
Before you moved here?
Immediately before I moved here, I did everything I could to afford moving here. So I got an overnight job swimming in garbage behind Kmart's and Targets and parking lots and things like that. I was a street sweeper that worked overnight, but I portered parking lots specifically in industrial places so that I could afford to come here because they paid really well and you could work as much as you wanted. So we really didn't have a whole lot going for us. In previous years, I owned a business, but we had already left that before realizing, Soma was a thing. But in terms of kind of moving into a more intentional community, that is certainly different for us. That is something that's just not readily available and certainly not common in Texas, or Oklahoma. That's not something you can just find any day of the week. And so that's been a big adjustment. So I feel like we're living in pretty darn close proximity to people for really the first time in our lives.
So street sweeping to seminary, feels like a big jump. How has that been? What are your first impressions?
The first impressions? Well, it's not much different in that I was alone all night long, and so I got to listen to the Woodland Hills podcast as much as I wanted. So in that sense, it's exactly the same, except I'm not in a garbage truck. And in terms of being different, or my impression, is that I'm thrilled. And I have probably the highest expectations and faith for something that I have in a long time. I think it's only going to get better. I think we're only going to get better at it. And I'm very, very excited. And I'm also excited to not be in that garbage truck anymore.
Has there been anything that's felt like a letdown?
A letdown? We need more. We need more of everything. We need more of everything. The people could live closer together. There could be more of us. I understand the size, why it is about the size that it is. It has to be, for it to be this. There's not a 500-person version of this, certainly not like this. Well, but the intimacy, I don't live where the guys live, and the guys don't live where the gals live, and not all the gals live together, and not all the guys live together, and we don't live here, and we don't live in the community, that sort of thing. So I would take the intention that we've already got, and take that radicalness that we're already trying to do, right, on our dial, and we just need to keep turning that dial up. Turn the radicalness dial all the way up.
Radicalness in terms of?
Everything that the program is about. If it is about sharing, and it is about community, and it is about forging a new church family and that sort of thing, any way that makes that more real and concrete, I'm into it.
Of the units that you've done, have any of them been stood out to you in particular, or been particularly impactful?
I feel like it's been somewhat of a slow burn in that it's hard to separate one unit from another, because the third unit is just that. One unit completed, 2 units completed, third unit. So it's hard to be the third unit without any kind of context of 1 or 2. But having said that, the current one, the repenting of a religion, turning from judgment to love. There are places in my life, personally, and maybe in people's lives at large, that there is just judgment that is creeping in and exists in ways that you just never really knew. The bad kind of judgment. And it takes learning about a good kind of judgment or discerning to figure that out. And certainly other people.
Yeah, tell me about some of the other people, your experience with community with.
Well, I'll tell you what, sharing all day, every day is certainly a big step, first of all. We're in class with each other, everyone is sharing their thoughts and opinions. Everyone does a really awesome job of expressing themselves and listening. And we are all learning, me included, to give that space. We're not just vying to be heard, but we're trying to honor one another and give each other their space and their preference and defer to one another. There's been a lot of talk in our program about how to talk about how we even talk. So some of us talk more easily and readily than others, and other people don't. Well, maybe somebody like me needs to practice and be told and have it pointed out to them that, hey, just give space. So after you finish a thought, or somebody finishes a thought, maybe if you took a beat and considered it, instead of merely waiting for your turn to speak, that would be really productive. So that's a really big one. It's a topic that comes up pretty darn often for us, is letting the people who speak less, kind of giving them space. You don't want to be the reason that they speak less. You don't want to be the reason for that. But there's an intense sharing. We share dinner, we share space, we share resources, we share rides. There's an awful lot of sharing. I'm dying to have a new family. That's really one of the reasons I'm here. Is I'd love to have a new family. And that the sharing is really doing that. Well, when I say that, I mean God's family. I mean the church as family. As a matter of fact, just this morning, Kevin has us using several words that we're supposed to bring in and define every morning lately. And each one of the students has 2 words, 10 students for a total of 20 words. Mine are grace and family. And I didn't really want to talk about them separately because they're one thing, because they're the family of grace. And what does that mean? Well, I want a new family, and I want the kind of family that Jesus envisions for me. Well, the family that he envisions for me is made up of the people that obey him and want to follow his way. They're made up of the people that want to be like him. That's my family. That's my mother and my father and my sister and my brother. And lo and behold, here they are. So we're trying to expand that definition. I want to expand my definition of my family. I want to love my mother and my father, but I also want to expand my definition of who can be in my family.
Do you have any idea of what's coming next after Soma?
What's coming after Soma? Already? I don't know. Early on, we were asked, I remember one of the questions, I think it was on the form, was what will you do? What will you do when you leave? Before the program had even started yet. And I, somewhat snarkily, responded, I guess I'll do whatever you equip me to do. So that's kind of how I feel in general about this, I feel like, in a way, we've talked a lot about tools and having tools for something. Putting things places, having the right, what's the right tool for the job, how do you use it? And I only have the tools that I've been provided. I only have the tools that God's provided me. And he has to teach me how to use them. So whatever tools I leave with, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do. Now, having said that, I do hope that some of the students will grow even closer to one another. And maybe, just maybe, Soma will continue in some sort of form even after the program is officially over. That is a hope that I have.
It's good.
Yeah.
Great.
Is that about right?